Oh, shoot. I forgot to put the countdown on. Anyways, well, I guess we're just getting straight into this. Welcome to my new show, my new horror show. Why does something always happens whenever I start a new show? There's always like technical difficulties or something, but you know what? It's all good. Here I am. Here I am. My new show is going to be called A Hunger for Horror. Glad you could join me, whether it's live or on the replay. I appreciate you guys. I have been starting to roll out these shows as of late because um, I realize I don't really have a ton of time to be editing on top of my job. You know, I edit for a living, so it can be exhausting, editing 8 hours a day plus, and then, come into my channel and trying to get stuff out for flicks and comics. So yeah, it can be a lot. So I thought, hey, maybe I should just do live shows, even though I am not great at live shows at all by any means, if you haven't noticed. I do my best, but I also struggle with some social anxiety. So, like, it helps with that. It helps me, like, kind of come out of my shell. And that's another reason I'm doing this because I'm working from home these days and, like, I just need to talk to people. I need to, you know, hang out with some fellow fans of comics, fellow fans of movies, fellow fans of horror. So here we are, and this is the only way I could really do this now, get content out to you all. So I'm doing it. I do plan to do more reviews and stuff and kind of go back to what I was doing a couple years back. I took kind of a big hiatus of 2 years. And, slowly but surely, I've been rebuilding my channel. So just kind of going into, all that. I realize I have explained it in other shows, but for those that are just joining me, um, on this show for the first time, or if you're a new subscriber, I like to kind of give you guys a little background um, about myself right now because I am in this interesting transition period with the channel. So, but that being said, like I said, I will be doing more reviews that are edited, but that's just probably going to take a little longer for me to start releasing. But I hope to do so maybe in the next month or two. So there's that. So yeah, in the meantime, I'm doing these shows and these shows will not go away either. So you can look forward to both things, the live and the edited stuff. So yeah. Anyways, hey Kavi, what's going on? How are you? Thanks for being here in the chat. Yeah, this is kind of a new thing for me. So, for the longest time, I wanted to do something horror related on my channel. You guys know I talk about horror all the time. Um, it's a love of mine, definitely, and I just feel like I talk about it a lot, but I don't know, it deserves its own show. So that's why I'm doing this. Um, it really fuels me, in my collecting. And I know it shows and I talk about it, like I said. So yeah, I think this will give me a little more flexibility as well. So if I want to, talk about other things on the other shows, other genres, and or other like directors, other just anything besides horror, like I can go ahead and do that, right? And so I can leave all the horror stuff for this show. And so I don't always feel like I have to be talking about horror. You know what I mean? This will be the designated spot. So that's another reason why I'm doing this. But yeah, like I said, I've been a horror fan, gosh, ever since I was a kid, and I kind of wanted to get into that, like the roots of, my fandom and how I got started with it. Um, but yeah, I was a youngster. I was so young when I started. I was in elementary school, and I think this is actually similar to a lot of people's stories. Like when it comes to horror, it's the parents. It's my mom and a little bit of my dad, but it's usually that's the case where when you're a kid, like they want to see some horror. So they, they'll cover your eyes, but they'll let you watch the rest of it for certain scenes, right? So yeah, that's kind of how it started for me. My mom, and mainly my mom, was a big, big horror fan back in the day. Coincidentally, she isn't anymore, which I don't know how that happens, but yeah, it is what it is. But back in the day, she was a fiend and she would always want to watch the latest horror movie. My dad wasn't as into it, but he was very into classics in general, and he did also have a love for film. So yeah, it definitely comes from them. But let's see what Kabi's saying. I was gonna say JoJo. Just not watching Giants because they're sucking. Just curious how many monitors. Oh, my monitors. I have my laptop, and then the dual monitors are connected. It's technically three monitors, but this one, I don't even have this one open. It's just kind of running. But yeah, it's the two monitors here. Don't need to answer. These aren't like super expensive monitors. I just got them from Costco, but they work great. They work well with whatever I need them for. And then I got the stand from Amazon. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked, but it's all good. And then, yeah, the laptop from work. But, anyways, cheers. Since we're taking a little break here. Okay. This is actually an energy drink. But anyways, back to it. So yeah, just going through my love of horror history, I guess. So yeah, my parents, it's all their fault. It's all their fault, all the trauma, all these years. But no, I honestly have always thanked them, right? Because like I I love that I started watching those things as a kid. Like, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's like bad parenting or whatever." I just I just don't really agree. Like, I feel like as a kid, it's either you love it or you hate it, right? You're either terrified to the point where you just want to run out of the room, or you're terrified to the point where you're just curious and it's like watching a train wreck or something. Like you're just, the curiosity is just intense and you just have to keep watching, right? That's where I'm at, or that's where I was as a kid. So, um, yeah, I never quite understood why like my friends and stuff would run out the room, or they just didn't want to continue watching, and it would like kind of irk me. Like I'd get a little annoyed because I'm like, come on dude, like let's watch this. But as a kid you don't really understand, right? Obviously I understand now, but yeah, I never saw anything like wrong with it. And I loved feeling scared. I loved that, like, I guess it's that little adrenaline rush high that you would get. I don't know, but I just thought I just thought it was so cool, like how a movie could make me feel terrified, and even though I knew it was fake. And that's the thing, as a kid, like I always knew it was fake. Like, I didn't need my mom telling me, like, "Mija, this is fake. Don't worry. The boogeyman's not gonna get you." Like, I never needed that, I was talking to my sister about it, the other day actually. She was telling me the same thing. She's like, it's interesting that like we would never like cry or like you get super scared about, whether Michael Myers was gonna come get us at night or anything like that. Like we kind of just watched and enjoyed. And she was telling me this because her kids right now, they're very delicate when it comes to horror. Um, because my sister, she has wanted to kind of introduce horror to them, but it's like, they'll try to like tiptoe around it. And one of her kids seems to kind of because they're still in elementary. They're probably yeah, they're like 6, no, 7, and then I think the other one's 9. And so yeah, they're around that age where they're still pretty young, but she's kind of trying to see where that line is. And so, yeah, she was telling me like, yeah, it's we've tried to show them kind of like not like rated R stuff, but some stuff that's like it's a little spooky, but not like terrifying, and they still get scared. They still get terrified um, at night, and they'll have like they'll wake up in the middle of the night and all that. So they've had to be gentle, And it's just odd. Like I wonder if it's just something like you either love it or you hate it. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to me though that some people are just cool with it and then other people or other kids they just aren't. They're just like I want nothing to do with this, right? I have a lot of friends that are like that are just like, I will pass on the horror. But yeah, so that was something that I loved that our family could do together was watch horror. I vividly remember my mom taking me to the rental place and we were, just kind of walking down the aisle and it was new releases and I remember seeing um the fifth Michael Myers on the wall, which is Curse of, right? Curse of Michael. And I remember that seeing the box art, the VHS, and it was like, what? I was like, what is that? Like, why does I thought the mask looked like a woman, like an old woman for some reason. I don't know why, but even to this day, it kind of to me it just reminds me of like, I don't know, like a wicked Kathy Bates or something with the knife up here. And then what's weird about that too is like the glove, like it's wearing like Michael's wearing a glove and he usually doesn't wear gloves. So I don't know. But when I saw it, I remember being so intrigued by it. That was my first exposure to Michael Myers. And I was like, what is that? Like, what first of all, why is it white? Like, is it a zombie? Is that a mask? Like, I didn't know what was going on. And it looks like a woman, like an evil woman. And I asked my mom, I was like, "What is that?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, that's Halloween." And she was like, glad I asked, right? So she explained the whole thing to me in a nutshell. And she's like, "Let's watch all of them." So we basically, because that one was brand spanking new, right? It was like 1995, I believe. And so yeah, we rented all of them prior to that. So 1 through 4. And then, on the lead up to 1 or to 5. So yeah, that was really cool. I don't remember if it was I don't know. I don't remember if we did watch all of them. I think we did, but I don't know. It gets a little hazy for me, right? So, because it was so long ago. I feel so old, man. But yeah, I do remember being pissed off about Halloween 3, and I was just like, the normal reaction. Where's Michael? What is going on? I want my money back kind of thing. I was so pissed. I was so pissed. Even at that young age, I was just like, "What? Where's Michael Myers?" Because yeah, immediately, after watching the first few, or the first 2, I remember thinking like, "Man, this is amazing. Like, this is so cool." Like, I don't know. I think there's something about the mystery behind Michael that I just gravitated to a lot. Horror from the Terrible Twos onward. You or me? um, I was in about 4th grade, I think. I don't know if it was that early, but the sentiment is there. Oh, Lady Michael, nice. I can see that. For some reason, yeah, that poster really just like, I don't know. Yeah, even to this day, I look at it and I'm like, it does look like an old lady, man. My terrible memory as a childhood is that I probably avoided horror until I was an early teen. I mean, that makes sense to me. That's why it's like, I don't know. Like, is it learned or is it like, oh shit, just hit my knee on my desk. Um, I don't I don't understand. Like, do some people just naturally have a higher threshold for horror or what's going on? Like, or is it the way it's presented to you? Like my parents allowed me to watch it and they explained everything and they covered my eyes with certain scenes. Typically not like the death scenes, though the kills. It was usually like the sex scenes they would cover my eyes. If I could watch someone getting stabbed, that's fine. Um, Kavi says, but can't quite recall exactly what the first horror or slasher film I saw actually was. Yeah, it's interesting because like I know that wasn't my first horror, but it definitely was one of the first. Before that, my dad was the one that was very adamant about us watching the classics. So earlier on, we had already watched Jaws and King Kong. He was going mainly for like the creature features that were like pretty cheesy, and me and my sister were in no way like scared of those movies at all. Um, but again, they were fun to watch and we really enjoyed them. So I think that's why they felt like, oh yeah, let's just keep showing them stuff, which is a good call because yeah, I am super grateful for that because I don't know. It's something I've enjoyed since I was a kid and it's always been there for me. Kind of like comics, I feel very similarly towards comics, even though horror is just like a general genre, but like comics, I've been into since I was a kid as well. So it's just awesome to have hobbies, like that as a kid. Um, but yeah, yeah. There were certain movies that my mom wouldn't let me watch though, like The Exorcist. That was one that she was like, "You're not gonna watch that ever." And I was like, "What? Why? I watch all these other things." And she was just like, "No," because she was petrified when she went to watch as a kid. So she tells me the story that she went to the theater. She got dropped off. Her and her sister got dropped off and they waltzed in to The Exorcist. I don't know if my aunt knew what they were doing or where they were going, but my mom didn't know what to expect and she was a kid. She was really, really young and yeah, she saw The Exorcist at that age and she was like, never again. And they were Catholic. They grew up Catholic. So yeah, I feel like it was extra scary for those religious people. But anyway, I didn't end up watching The Exorcist till I was a little older, like probably like 6th grade. Um, somewhere around there. Yeah. Sixth or seventh. No, it was probably sixth. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so that's kind of where it started. It was all like my parents kind of trying to introduce us to, the genre. It was gradual because, like I said, they did show us the cheesier creature features prior, but we got into slashers like pretty early. And then one time, I have a memory too of I was much younger though, so like it was creature features. Then in fourth grade, it was Michael Myers. That's when I got into slashers. But prior to that, I was probably like 4, 5, something like that. I was really young, but I do remember my mom, and my her cousin, they were watching, the third Pinhead movie in the dark downstairs, and they had already, like, tucked me in or whatever. So, I snuck down because I knew they had rented something. I knew it. And, like, you know, at that time, they weren't letting us watch those things yet. Because I was significantly younger. But, I remember, like, hiding behind the couch and, like, just sneaking and watching it. I don't remember if I think I watched the whole thing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe I got too scared and then, like, just went back upstairs, or maybe I just got bored with it and went upstairs. I don't remember really. I just remember watching some of it and I was like, "Oh, dang, this is intense." I remember thinking that and, like, yeah, but it was so long ago that it's, like, hard to remember details anymore, but yeah, I do remember that, and that was funny. I told my mom that later, and she was like, "What? You did?" Like, "Yeah, was just curious." I think that's a big thing with me. When I get curious about things, it's like it has my full attention. But um, what is Kavi saying here? Guarantee it was probably a friend who showed me my first one. My parents' family had zero interest or encouragement for horror. Probably, yeah. I can see that. There's something to it also when you're a kid. It's that taboo. It's that like, you shouldn't be watching something like this. The fact that they're covering your eyes for certain scenes, but you can still hear stuff. It's like this weird, like, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I can't stop watching. That's what I think drew me in too. So it's seeing all the grotesque effects and being just kind of overwhelmed by that because they looked so real, even though I knew it was fake, and it making me feel some kind of way. I was just like, I was scared, but like I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. It was addicting. The Exorcist was one of the early ones I remember, says Kavi. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. That was definitely later for me, but I remember thinking I would like it wasn't that scary because I had watched all these other things already. And my mom had like just talked about it so much that like it was so terrifying that I was like, "Oh my god, I have to watch this." And it was on TV one day. So I ended up watching it. It's wild. Do they still show like I know they would make different cuts. They would make different cuts for television. But do they still do that? I don't have cable anymore, so I don't know. But, like, where they'll show, like, horror movies like that, but, like, um, edit certain scenes. I don't know if they still do that or not. Or is it just everyone has just moved on to streaming now, probably, and don't watch movies on cable? I don't know. Do you remember what the first, one you went to see, on your own at a theater? On my own? Ooh, I actually haven't done I mean, I hadn't done that until recently. I mean, I had gone on my own where I got dropped off and then met friends up at the theater. And then there were a couple times when me and my cousin, actually Blair Witch was one of them and American Pie was one of them, where um I definitely was not 18 yet, but we are was it 16? I don't know. It's 18, right? I don't remember how old you have to be. Anyway, for a rated R, it's 18, no? Because you have to show your ID, right? I don't remember. But I remember not being, or yeah, I remember my cousin really wanted to go watch both of those movies. And so we somehow got our parents to drop us off because we were actually neighbors at the time. I was neighbors with my cousins. And so, yeah, we were always up to no good. But that time they brought me and I was like, hell yeah, because I felt like I was cool, even though I was only 2 years younger. But when you hang out with the old cousin, the older cousin, you're like part of the cool kids club or something. But yeah, it was my sister's 2 years older, and then she was 2 years older. So they were the same age. And they're like, let's go watch Blair Witch. And so there we go. And they took me and we went and I don't remember if they drove or if my parents, that's probably what it was. Evie probably drove. But anyway, we ended up at the theater and we paid for a different movie and then we just snuck into Blair Witch. And again, I remember loving it. I was like, this was 6th grade, I believe, too. I was like, this is awesome. What the heck? This feels so real. That one felt real. And everyone thought it was real. I remember people walking out. It's almost like I had the complete opposite reaction as a lot of people did when they watched that movie. Cause like my one of my cousins was like, um, I felt like vomiting when I saw it. It got nauseous. I didn't have that reaction at all. I was just like completely enthralled, completely enthralled. I was like, oh my God, this movie was amazing. Um, and later in this show, like with later episodes, I will go through these movies like individually so we can kind of analyze them and like talk more in depth about them. I love film talk. I love analyzing movies. And that's why I really want to bring back my reviews because that's really where I get into the nitty-gritty with it all. With the shows that I've been doing, I haven't really been going super in depth with the movies or anything like that or reviews just because well, time is a factor, but also I feel like the shows should be a little more general because, a lot of people haven't watched them or whatever. But yeah, I think I don't know. I'm still unsure whether I should go in depth or not with the horror show. We'll see. But it'd be fun if we did. It'd be fun. Okay, who else is in the chat? We got Todd. What's up, Todd? Just chilling. I decided to just start my first horror show, first episode, because it's one of those things, and I did it with a grip of comics as well, where I just kept telling myself, I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. Next week, next week, next week, next week. And it's like, when will I be ready? And so I had to kind of like push myself to do it. Like when you're a kid and you're scared to jump in the pool in the deep end or something, and then like your uncle or your dad pushes you in, and then you're like, oh shit. And then you're kind of scared, and then but you realize like, oh yeah, I'm glad they did that because I wouldn't have done it and I wouldn't have had all this fun. That's how I'm feeling right now, but I pushed myself into the pool. So I'm really not prepared, but I know that I need to start. That's just the thing. I need to start or else I just will keep, you know, giving y'all excuses. So here I am. Take it or leave it. Where did I leave off? Oh, what's up, Glitter? I saw The Exorcist for the first time when I was 8. It's still the scariest movie I've ever seen. Yeah, like some people really, really can't handle that movie. And I understand. Like I said, back in the day, I didn't understand. Like I felt like I reacted different to movies than a lot of people. And now I totally get it though. Like that's the whole point of horror. Like that's the whole point. It's what the director wanted you to feel, right? Um and then there's weirdos like me who just love and they enjoy the fear for some reason. I don't know what that says about me, but I don't really care to find out. I just want to enjoy horror with other people that enjoy horror as well. So, uh, okay. Yeah, I saw a cable TV edited version of The Exorcist for sure. Yeah. You know, it was funny because, like, the other day when I was talking about it on one of the other shows, I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that's so interesting that they would show that. I feel like they would never show that these days. I don't even think they would make like a TV cut. Um, Rated R used to be 17, I think. Yeah, I don't remember. That's weird that it's like hazy for me now. I don't know. It definitely leaves a mark. Yeah. I mean, Exorcist is so well made though. Like I'm not taking anything away from it. I I understand that it's horrific, but I just it's such a brilliant it's so well made, such a brilliant execution of just storytelling, like, and craftsmanship. That's the thing with me, like, with that movie, oh, man, just I'm big on practical effects, so clearly, like, that's always been a standout film for me. Um My sister-in-law alright, my sister saw The Exorcist in theaters when it first came out. She was still haunted by it. A whole generation. That happened to a whole generation. It's amazing to if you think about it. It's kinda like with Jaws, what happened with Jaws, right? Um, people were so terrified, they didn't wanna even um, go to the beach for a while. Or like Psycho. Psycho did that with, showers. People stopped showering. That's funny. I don't think I've heard you talk in detail about it before, but curious your overall feelings on the Scream franchise, original, sequels, reboot. I've missed the last 3 or so. See, this is why I don't call this a podcast because I like showing shit all the time. But anyway, back to it. Scream. So, what do I thoroughly enjoy Scream. I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it was definitely well written. Kevin Williamson was on top of his game at the time, and it was just such a witty kind of. I liked the back and forth dialogue a lot in that. Um, it was like meta before meta was kind of a thing. Well, more prominent. Meta was definitely a thing already, but it was a lot more, it's become a lot more of like a mainstream thing, I feel like. But that's kind of when it started, I want to say. Because like there've been other movies back in the day that have been meta, but Scream really brought it like to the forefront and like was a little more creative with it, I would say. But I do love the Scream movies. I love the first three. I don't care what people say about the third. I enjoy it pretty thoroughly as well. Um, the okay, so these later movies. So wait, four is probably the worst one in my opinion, but I there are parts of it that I really enjoy. Um, I was a Hayden fan, Hayden Panettiere. I thought she was cool in the movie, and I was also just a fan in general back in the day because I used to watch Heroes, and I thought it was really cool that she was in a Scream movie. But yeah, overall though, it's not the best film at all. But I remember being disappointed when I got out of the theater. Would I watch it again though? Like probably. If I'm doing like a whole rewatch of the entire franchise, I would probably rewatch that too, just for kicks. But yeah, it's definitely not my favorite. I would never be like, let's watch Scream 4 today, like randomly. Unless, like I said, I was watching the whole thing, the whole series. But anyway, 5 was okay. I think I think 6 elevated 5, but I was not a big fan of the whole toxic fandom stuff. And it did kinda linger into 6, but there were I felt like they made some fixes in 6 that it kinda helped, it helped me understand or accept stuff that was in 5. So, yeah. The first 3 are definitely way better, I will say, than the rest of the movies, but overall, though, they're still fun. 6 was really fun. 6 was the best, I feel like, in the later installments. So, I'm terrible at ranking because I feel like my opinions change all the freaking time. But if I had to rank them now, I actually really like number 2. So, like, I would probably say 2, 1, 3, 6, 5, 4. Fight me. No, please don't. Let's see what people are saying. Oh, really, Glitter? Oh, that's awesome to hear. So we definitely should go to that HorrorCon then. We definitely should go. I was talking to Trash Dash about it on IG, but he's like way up north. He's like I want to say 2 hours from me or something like that. So it would be kind of out of the way. So I told him we could meet up at some other point just to go like, I don't know, comic shopping or something like that. But we should definitely link up for the HorrorCon then, Crystal. Every Friday as kids, we'd watch creature feature movies. We'd be terrified but loved. Thank you. Okay, see, it's like some people react like that. And then I have a friend who hates me because I made her watch The Ring. So when we were in high school. Um, dude, speaking of high school, there were some amazing movies when I was in high school coming out in the horror genre that just reinforced my love for it growing up. But yeah, freaking amazing, dude. Like at the time, Shyamalan was like at his height. So like, Sixth Sense was a little older, but in high school it was Signs. He had come out with Signs and freaking loved Signs. And then what else was out during that time? Um the others, dude. The Others was very similar to The Sixth Sense in a way. You guys have all watched both of them, right? Because I don't wanna try to worry about spoilers for movies that are so old. Oh, man, yeah, I just yeah, high school was a good time, definitely. Um, I wanna say from 6th grade onwards for me until probably I feel like there was a lull in horror in, like, the, 2000s, 2010-ish, around that time. When did The Hills Have Eyes remake come out? Oh, I forgot, Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake in high school. Dude, oh, and then Freddy versus Jason. I went to the theater to watch Freddy versus Jason, and I fucking love it. I fucking love it to this day because I had such a blast at the theater. Everyone was just like hooting and howling and like laughing, and it was great. It was great. And those are moments that I love when it comes to like the theater experience. And I feel like horror really brings that out. Horror and comedy. There's some kind of link between horror and comedy for sure, but yeah. Oh man. Watching Freddy versus Jason in theaters. I watched Signs in theaters too, and I went to the drive-in to watch that as well. Um, what other horrors in high school, man? The Ring. Oh, so good. So good. Like I said, I made my friend watch it. And she hated me after that. She hated me. I also made her watch The Sixth Sense. We rented it or I know, I think I had it. Yeah, I had it, and, we watched she slept over and we watched it, and, the cold open, you know, what happens where he you know you guys know, right? Oh my god, why am I feeling this reluctance to say anything even though it's such an old movie? But she's like she's like, "Oh, so he survived, huh?" And I had already seen it. So I was like, I just gave this like nervous laugh after she said that because I didn't want to say anything. Oh, it was so funny though. And then after the movie, she's like looking at me like, oh my God, you didn't say anything. I was like, what did you want me to tell you? No, he's actually a ghost the whole time? Like, come on. Oh, good times. Good times. Good times. I want to catch up and see more of the sequels and reboot, but I feel behind. Do it slowly. Do it slowly. Don't like try to rush through it, because then yeah, it'll feel overwhelming. I would say, I don't know, like every week, pop one in, Saturday or something like that. And then it'll go by as soon as, go by pretty fast. Todd says, "What's your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film besides the first one?" I really love Freddy's Revenge. A New Nightmare would probably be third, but I love the whole franchise. That's a toughie for me. Yeah. Dude, all these slashers, they're just like my jam. So it's hard. It's always hard for me to rank. But oh, it's tough because I do just like you. I love the whole franchise, but if I had to choose, oh god, oh god, don't hold me to this, guys. Don't hold me to it, because next thing you know, tomorrow I'm gonna be like, actually, I'll say, I will say, oh fuck, I really have to think about this because oh god, there's something to be said about nostalgia too, you know? So like the first one freaked me out as a kid. It really did, but I loved it. But honestly, like I later watched A New Nightmare And then I came back and watched all the other ones years later. So it was One and New Nightmare that I had watched from, earlier on, because that was around the time that I was, renting everything. And then, but I don't, it's hard for me to say that New Nightmare is my favorite either. So I want to, I want to go, I'll go with number two. It's tough between two and three for me, I think. I'll go two because I tend to because growing up, I was always pissed whenever I felt like horror should be horror, and I would get mad whenever they would try to make things funny, you know? Um, so I remember really liking part two, but I think what I should do, and I think I'm gonna do that for this show, is specifically go back to these franchises and just watch all of them and then give you guys an accurate ranking now because the rankings in my head are from when I was younger, right? And I haven't really gone through and watched all of them consecutively and given a fair analysis to all of them. But yeah, I'll just go with two because I like horror Freddy, because he becomes somewhat of a comedian, as you guys know, a little later, right? Same thing with Chucky. They have more of a serious tone in the first few, and then it gets a little batshit crazy later. But I love all of them, though. I don't love all the Chuckies. I do love all the Freddys, though. So I'll go with 2. I'll go with 2. And that's why also when I was a kid, I never really cared for, Evil Dead or, those movies because I didn't understand mixed genre, and I feel like that makes sense though because as you get older, you kinda understand what they're trying to do, but for me, horror was so straightforward, and I just saw horror as horror, and why are you trying to make it funny? This is supposed to be serious right now. I get pissed. Like and I just didn't get it, you know? And I remember watching Army of Darkness, and I was like, "What is this shit? This isn't why are we doing this?" I didn't get it. And then I watched it again as an adult when I was older, probably in how old was I? I don't remember how old, probably early college, and I loved it. I was like, "Oh, I get it. Because at that point, I had seen, Drag Me to Hell in theaters and stuff, and I loved it, but I also had all these years of watching horror, and, after you start to understand the tropes of horror and, um, these horror comedies almost become like a giant inside joke for horror fans, you know? And I love that about horror comedies. It's so awesome. Like Cabin in the Woods. I remember watching it with my ex and if you remember the trailer for that movie, they led you to believe it was gonna be like Wrong Turn or Cabin Fever or one of those more serious horror movies, and it turned out to be a horror comedy, and I remember thinking, it was so genius, I freaking loved it, and my ex was, not having it. He was like, "I don't understand why you think that's funny." And I was like, "Well, it's playing on all the tropes, that's why it's so funny." But, he didn't have that horror history, he just didn't care about horror, so, he didn't find any of it funny. So that's why, it makes sense that as a kid, when you don't have that prior knowledge or, a lot of you don't get it, you don't understand what the director's trying to do here, right? So yeah, and I didn't gain that appreciation for horror comedy until much later in life. Um, but now I love it. I freaking love it. So I eat it up. But yeah, I'll go with 2. I'll go with 2 for Freddy. I hate that though. I need to go back and like literally like just for real, like just sit down, watch all of them and just kind of make a definitive decision. Because I'll pop them in, but like sporadically, throughout the year, but not I want to sit and watch them all, like binge watch them. Take a weekend or something. Uh she was awesome on Heroes, I hear ya. Oh yeah. Hayden Panettiere, yeah. Yeah, Heroes was freaking good. Like the first season or two was awesome, and then it went so downhill. But what's new? A lot of shows do that. Todd says, for the Scream films, I love the first two, but after that, I'm not interested. I mean, I get it. Those are the best too, I would say. Um, I still watch creature feature movies every Saturday. Hey, Glitter, have you ever gone to there's a film museum slash theater out in Fremont that I just visited, and I can't make it that weekend, but they're doing a like double creature feature. Um, I think on the 24th. So you should go check it out if you like them creature features. Signs was so scary for me. We slept with the lights on and on the night we saw it, but I loved it. Dude, yeah. I remember I watched it in theaters. But before that, I'm trying to remember how the sequence of events went. So I first watched it in the drive-in. That was the first time. And I remember because like I used to live by in kind of like the boonies, and there were like cornfields around the theater, and it was very agricultural town. So, oh man, I lived like not 5 minutes away from the drive-in, but again, I was with my cousins and we were driving back and like I just kept envisioning, that scene where they see, it's behind. That scene freaking killed me. And then well, all the crop circles, right? And here I am in the middle of freaking cornfields. So I was constantly like, oh my God, like looking behind my shoulder, like, oh, that drive home was the only thing comparable to that. How scared I no, there's been two other times I've been terrified after watching a movie in the theater. There was the first time with Signs, that was a drive-in. There's and then as a grown-ass adult, I went to watch Paranormal Activity with my mom. Terrified afterwards, terrified. Um just going back into your like opening the door and going up your stairs in the dark. Oh god. It was horrible. It was horrible. I love the movie, but it really got me. That one really got me. And then what was the other one? Oh, recently I saw Terrifier for the first time. And I was the only one in the theater, and it was a 10 o'clock showing. And don't ask me why I did it, but I did it. No, I'll tell you why I did it. I did it because first of all, I had missed it. So that was, it's an older movie. So I thought it was pretty rare that they were showing it at my local theater. So I was like, I have to take advantage of this, right? I love watching movies in the theater. So I had to. I wasn't going to wait around for somebody to join me. These days, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll just go alone. I don't care. Like, if my friends are busy, they're busy, but I'm going. So, you either come with me or it is what it is. But yeah, those 3 times are probably the most scared I've ever been walking out of the theater. My car got stolen the night my friends went to see Halloween H2O. My friend was working the concession stand. Later at the police station, I found out it was my ex-girlfriend. Shaking my head. What the heck? Are you kidding me? What a story. So every time you see Halloween H2O, you think of that, huh? That sucks. Todd says Hills Have Eyes remake came out in 2006. I saw it with a group of friends when it came out, and it was a lot of fun. I still enjoy the film, but the sequel was I never saw the sequel. I should check that out, even though you're saying it's terrible. I still like watching movies no matter what, like bad or good or bad. Like I feel just like as a film person, I it's good not just to only watch movies that are quote unquote good, you because you never know what you might like. Like even if somebody is saying, it's not great, like yeah, it's fine going into it knowing that, but it's also like sometimes I like my bad movies too, You never know. It's always good. And even from as like a student of film, just looking at some of the things that, you know, you feel like you could have changed or made certain improvements to the movie. Like I like to analyze that stuff too, where it's like, well, if they would have just tweaked this or changed this part, like I think that the movie would have been better. Those are good learning experiences. I like the movie, but leaving a horror movie to smashed glass, a missing car, and cops isn't a vibe. I I know how you're feeling with that because I feel the same way about the Garfield movie that came out when we were in high school. Because I'm not gonna say what happened, but something pretty traumatic happened in my family after I went to the theater. Literally, I came back and like it was bad. And so every time I think about that movie, it's kind of traumatic for me. I'm just like, "Ugh, I don't wanna see that poster at all." And it's, like, ironic because Garfield, it's, like, such a goofy thing, but, like, it was not cool going back home to that. And I just remember, like, I associate it with that memory. It sucks. It's crazy though how, like, that happens with movies or with music. Like, it could really just take you back to where you were when you first heard it or first, watched it. It's like a time machine, time capsule. Big Remo. Hey, Big Remo. Do you like horror? Just wondering because I think me and Crystal might go to the HorrorCon in Sacramento. Let us know if you're interested in joining us. The Grudge is good, the 2004 one. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a little long. I remember it being a little more sluggish in the pacing, but, but I remember thinking it was okay. The ones I didn't really like were actually the originals, the Japanese ones for The Grudge. I had to watch that for film class, actually, the original Grudge. I did not like it at all. It was super convoluted. They actually did a good job with the American one, like, trying to, you know, put the pieces together and make it somewhat more of a cohesive story. But um yeah, the originals was just like, ugh, did not like it. And then Ringu, I also didn't like Ringu, the Japanese one. I thought the remake was significantly better. Um, and I'm not just saying that like because it's American or whatever. Not even. It's just like um, you know, the writing was a little easy. Again, like the movie, both of them were a little too long and a little convoluted. So yeah, with Hollywood, that's the kind of the nice thing. They just kind of take things and make it more concise, make it more digestible to the American audiences because we're dumb like that, but but it works though, and I actually do like the remakes more. First one is the best. Which one? I'm just reading the comments here, seeing where I could. Chucky was one and done. I think I like the first. Okay. Honestly, just thinking back, I feel like Bride of Chucky, I kind of have a love hate with. I should rewatch it again, to be fair, because it's been a while. And it was around that time when I'm telling you, like, I didn't really enjoy comedy in my horror, but now I might enjoy it a lot more. Um, but yeah, I do enjoy the first 3. I can't say much about the rest because I literally skipped the rest of them. I just didn't care. Seed of Chucky, no. I think I watched, like, 10 minutes of that, and I was like, "Hell no." And I didn't bother with the others. And then there's a show now too, right? Haven't bothered. You guys know how I am with shows. Like, I'm just now starting to catch up with things because I'm binging, but like shows are so it just feels like so much more of a time commitment overall. And if I'm gonna watch a show, like I have to binge it. Like I'll have to it has to be over. I'm not gonna like wait for like the week to week thing. I just can't do it. Um that's how I am with comics too. Like I get very impatient. So I just want to know, I just want the whole story in front of me. Like, I just I need to know. uh, Glitter says, I still haven't seen the Chucky movies. Chucky freaks me out. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of goofy though. He's kind of goofy. The first few are scary. They can be scary, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, you just got to think like, man, this is ridiculous. It's like a doll, you know? And all these people are just like getting stabbed by a doll. Like, that's crazy. And that'll make it less scary if you think that way. Uh, I would. When was the origin story of Freddy and first appearance? Glitter says, "Have you seen Night of the Living Dead, 1968? It's one of my. Oh my god, that's an amazing movie. I actually was debating. I have something here I was gonna show that is it's a poster of Night of the Living Dead that I just framed. You're gonna love this then, because I won't show it in this episode, but I'll show it in the next episode. Um, I've had it for like a couple of years now, and I just never got around to framing it just like these. And I just did, and it looks gorgeous. And yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite movies is Night of the Living Dead. Um, just a it's just kind of like I feel very similarly to the way I feel about that, the way I feel about like The Exorcist, except on another level. So it's like filmically, right? I feel like that's like at the top of the heap for sure. Night of the Living Dead, all time, all time. That one and then Exorcist. Even though I would say since he, you know, was my foray into horror, he's my favorite. Michael Myers, my favorite. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I think that Halloween is the best horror film. You know what I mean? Juno. Glitter says I was definitely terrified after the Freddy movies. Yeah. Yeah, the first one got me when I was a kid, for sure. Oh, I've never seen the movie again. Yeah, I can imagine, Kavi. That's traumatic. Yeah, it would be too traumatic, exactly. Yep, Crystal woman scorned, I guess. That was a nice kid though, who knows? Yeah, Cat Kami, I can't imagine you being that terrible. She was violent, probably. I didn't press charges. The guy she was with had a criminal record too. There was police chase involved. Holy crap, man. Telling you. Hey Trash Dash, what up, Jojo? I'm at work on my break and I can't even hear you, but I had to stop in and say hi. Oh, what up? Maybe you could see this. We're gonna wrap up soon, but yeah, I kind of just wanted to give a little brief history of my you know my horror journey, whatever you want to call it. Kind of where I started and where I am now, um, with horror. Me and horror. Let's see. I may have missed a grudge. Gonna have to check it out. Gonna have to check out a trailer. Oh yeah, it's with the Sarah Michelle Gellar. I've always wanted to get into movies, foreign horror films, and comics. There's a lot of good horror, foreign horror movies for sure. I That's something I want to also delve into with this show is Italian horror because I'm not as steeped with Italian horror, and I kind of also want to start with the Japanese as well. Because the last time that I watched those movies that I was telling you, Grudge, the original Grudge and the original Ring, was back in college for film school. So it's been a minute, and I should probably revisit all that. Good to hear about your early exposure to horror. Yeah, yeah. It's a good way to just start the show off and reminisce. I think the show. Thanks, Kavi. Yeah. I kind of want it to be this one to be more of like a you remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? They'd all gather around and then just tell horror, just like scary stories or whatever. That's kind of how I want this to be, where it's more like, I don't know, we're sharing how we felt about certain movies, our experiences with those movies. I also want to get into quickly, I want to get into horror comics here. Um, we're going to talk about all things horror, obviously, but I'm going to start rereading. Well, not rereading. I started reading this back in Vegas. So I got a few issues in, but I'm going to start up again. So I'm going to be covering this on this show as well. But this episode is just chill. I just needed to get started. This is just me. I wasn't really even that prepared for this. It was kind of, like I said, I just had to push myself to start. But yeah. So yeah, we are going to be covering movies, but also comics. Anything horror genre related. Thanks for being here, Crystal. Sweet. I like horror comics more than horror films, to be honest. Really? See, I think I like horror films more. But God, horror comics just have the most beautiful artwork, though. I will say, like, I'm in love with horror art. Absolutely. But there's some stories that are great too, but there's a lot. I've encountered a lot of cheesy horror comics, I will say. Like weird, more like Twilight Zone type of stuff with horror comics. Todd says, I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? Just rewatched it recently. Most of the episodes still hold up. Really? I should go back and rewatch those as well. I freaking love that show. I used to, as a kid, me and my cousins, right before, we used to pray. We were Catholic, so we used to pray, like have a little half an hour prayer session before we watched. Super, super funny. Those are scary, dude. Goosebumps too. Gonna get some horror lighting. Yeah, that'll come later. yeah, slowly but surely, my setup will improve, but I'm in no rush. I remember camping and telling ghost stories around the campfire. Yeah, that's kind of what I want this little show to be like, where, we all just kind of share our stories and experiences with horror. The horror. This was perfect time to start your show since it's Halloween season. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. It's like, because yeah, there was a part of me that was like, I can't start right now. I'm not ready. I'm tired. Maybe I'll just wait till next week. But I'll just keep saying the same thing and I'm never gonna start. So I was like, I don't care if I'm not ready. As you saw the beginning of the show, it was kind of I was a wreck in the beginning. Uh yeah. Don't go back and watch it, please. Kavi was here, he knows. Say a prayer to the Sandman. The Sandman. Or don't if you like nightmares, right? Candyman. Candyman. And with that, we are going to end. Oh, wait. One more last comment from Kavi. I saw Spirit Halloween driving by, and someone made a comment about how early it was showing up this year, and it made me think of you, Jojo. They're open, you know? Gotta go in there and like just feel the vibes. Feel those autumn vibes. Take it in. It's only once a year, dude. It's only once a year. Anyway, all right, guys. Thanks for joining me. This was a lot of fun. Super chill, but yeah, I can't wait. I feel like this show is gonna be a lot of random stuff, but it's all gonna be horror related. So yeah, look forward to that. Yeah, we're like I said, we're gonna be covering shows, we'll cover comics, we'll cover upcoming horror cons, we'll cover Spirit Halloween stuff if you guys want. I could show you guys. Oh, I don't have too many of my horror collectibles here, but I have some. So I could show you guys some of my horror collectibles. Next week I'll show you guys that Night of the Living Dead poster that I have. It's gorgeous. I'm even thinking about replacing one of these, probably Creep Show for that one. It's just gorgeous. The problem is I have a window right here and I just don't want it to fade. Anyway, so it's besides the point. But yeah, guys. So yeah, look forward to this. Yeah, I've been meaning to do this for a while, so I'm happy. I'm happy I started. Anyways, have a great what is it? Oh, it's already the end of the weekend, huh? It's Sunday. So have a great week. I don't know if I'll be going live next week. We shall see. But hit the like, hit the subscribe button if you're new here. And also make sure to hit the notification bell as well because I don't have a schedule. And it's very helpful, as a reminder to you when I go live. That way you don't, have to rely on me to give you guys schedules. You could just hit that notification bell. So, all right, guys, I'll catch you all later. Bye.